This is Ian and his father Perry, sitting in the hot seat, questioned by police about their missing tenant, Thomas Lopez. But what they don't know is chilling. Lopez brutally attacked his girlfriend, Sabrina, before disappearing. With only an address and a name, the police are desperate for answers. What they don't expect. Lopez isn't gone, he's hiding in plain sight, watching every move, just feet away. Welcome to Dark Truths.
Come on outside. Keep your hands rock to you guys.
What's going on here? Okay, so Ian, is Thomas Lopez staying up here?
Picture this. The New Mexico desert. Sun going down. You know how the shadows get all long and creepy out there?
Yeah.
Miles from anywhere. It's a perfect place to hide something.
Isolated. Yeah.
And that's where this story takes us. A lonely ranch house. Flashing lights cutting through the darkness. Police cars. They know there's a killer holed up inside.
Oh, man.
But getting to him, that's another story altogether. This is the case of Thomas Lopez.
It really does feel like something out of a movie. You've got this remote location, a dangerous person trapped inside. You just know something bad happened. It grabs you right from the start.
The victim's name was Sabrina Calderon. Rushed to the hospital, barely clinging to life. Her body, it told a story of a brutal attack. But before she slipped away, Sabrina managed to whisper two things: the name of her attacker, Thomas Lopez,
It's incredible.
and the location of that isolated ranch house.
It really is amazing how someone, even when they're that close to death, can still find the strength to give crucial information. It's like those whispers, those last words, they become the key to unlocking this whole investigation.
So the police, they race out to this ranch. It's owned by a man named Perry and his son, Ian. Right away, though, something about Ian just seems off, nervous, like he's trying too hard to act like he barely knew Sabrina.
This is where the training of those investigators really comes into play, I think. They're taught to pick up on those little things, the body language, the way a story is told. It's like their instincts kick in. And with Ian, everything about him is raising red flags.
And those red flags, they just get bigger and brighter when Sabrina's father talks to the police. He tells them a completely different story. Sabrina had been held captive at that ranch for weeks. Abused.
A whole scenario changes at that point. It's no longer just a potential crime scene, you know. It becomes something much darker, much more sinister. You add in that element of captivity, the prolonged abuse. The stakes just went way up.
So they bring Ian in for questioning. At first, he sticks to his story. Says he just heard an argument, nothing more.
It's classic interrogation, really. Start with a harmless narrative, see if the suspect fills in any blanks. You hope they'll reveal more than they planned.
But then, the police, they laid out. They tell Ian how badly Sabrina was hurt, beaten with a golf club. And it's like something in him just breaks.
It's a turning point, that's for sure. The details of the attack, the weapon used, the brutality of it all, it's just too much. It cracks that facade that Ian had built up. You can almost see the walls crumble around him.
And that's when the real bombshell hits. Ian admits it. Thomas is hiding in the ranch house, in the vents.
And
He helped him get in there.
that's when the situation explodes. You go from an interrogation to a potential hostage situation. A violent criminal hidden in a confined space. That throws a whole new set of challenges at those officers.
You got to think, those officers, they're stuck. They know a killer is inside, but they can't just go in. Legally, they need more.
As you start digging, it's like a puzzle, right? Putting all the pieces together. Sabrina's statement, what her father said, and now Ian's confession. But is that everything? Is there more?
The investigators, they talk to everyone connected to that ranch. Perry, the father, he mentions hearing another woman being abused, but he wasn't sure who.
Yeah, that detail. It sends chills down your spine.
It makes you wonder, was Sabrina the only victim? This wasn't just a one-time thing, was it?
Exactly. It's a pattern. And patterns, they're huge in investigations. They can point to a history, maybe a motive, a way someone operates.
And then there's Bugsy. She's a friend of Ian's, staying at the ranch. She mentions that Thomas sometimes stayed at another house nearby. Doesn't sound like much, but could it be a break in the case?
Sometimes it's the smallest details that blow a case wide open. That new address, it gives the police somewhere else to search. Maybe there's more evidence there, maybe even more victims.
And they're right. Police go to this second location. Inside, they find another woman, Monique. And guess what?
Same story.
Same story. Thomas abused her too.
It's amazing the courage it takes for victims to come forward, especially after what they've been through. Monique's testimony, well, it backs up what Sabrina said, makes the case against Thomas even stronger.
It turns out, Monique even called the homeowner to change the locks. She was that scared of Thomas? That tells you something right there.
That level of fear, it shows you how an abuser operates. Control, isolation, fear. It's how they trap their victims.
Think about Sabrina.
Yeah.
Held captive on that remote ranch, no one to turn to, no one to help.
The isolation, it becomes its own prison, both physically and mentally. The abuser, they control everything. They become the only source of information, and that just distorts the victim's reality even more.
And the fear never goes away, Sabrina. Monique. They were terrified of what Thomas might do, and he used that fear to control them, keep them quiet.
Fear, it's a powerful weapon. It paralyzes victims. They don't report the abuse. They don't seek help sometimes. They don't even believe they deserve any better.
And that brings us back to Ian. He was afraid of Thomas too.
Yeah.
Was that why he helped hide him? Why he lied to the police? What do you think?
Ian's actions, well, they make you think. What is the responsibility of a bystander? It's easy to judge from the outside, but when you're in that kind of situation, fear can make anyone do things they wouldn't normally do.
It's got to be a terrifying choice. Do you speak up and risk the abuser coming after you? Or do you stay silent and become part of the problem?
It shows how complicated this is. There's no easy answer. But one thing's for sure, staying silent. That only helps the abuser.
So what can we do? How do we encourage people to speak up, to help victims get away from these situations?
I think it starts with awareness, understanding how abuse works, seeing those red flags. That way we can recognize when someone needs help, and we need to create an environment where victims feel safe coming forward, where they know they'll be believed and supported.
So we need to break the stigma, talk about domestic violence, educate ourselves, and each other.
Absolutely. We have to stop blaming the victims, stop questioning their choices. It's the abuser who needs to be held accountable.
Thomas is behind bars now, but 18 years won't erase the pain he caused. Is that really justice? What about Sabrina's family? What about Monique? How do they move on?
That's where you see the limits of the legal system. It can punish, it can try to deter, but it can never truly fix the damage that's been done. The emotional scars, the psychological trauma.
This case, it's been a tough one, a journey into some dark places. But maybe by exploring these dark truths, we can find some answers, some hope.
You're right. The more we talk about it, the more we understand it. That's how we start to make a real difference.
We've talked about how Thomas tried to manipulate everyone, downplayed his actions. But this wasn't just some accident or a few arguments, was it?
No, not at all. I think this case really highlights the fact that domestic violence is about power. It's about control. It's about one person trying to dominate the other completely.
And that control, it went beyond just Sabrina. Monique's story, the fear she lived with, that shows you how he trapped them.
Right, isolating someone from their support network, their friends and family, that's straight out of the abuser playbook.
It makes it that much harder for the victim to get away, to ask for help. Sometimes they don't even realize how bad it is.
You're right, it's like being in a prison. But it's not just the physical isolation, it's mental too. The abuser becomes the victim's whole world.
Think about Sabrina, out there on that ranch. No one to talk to, no way to escape.
And there's the constant fear. It never goes away.
Sabrina, Monique, they were terrified of what Thomas might do.
And he used that fear to keep them under his thumb.
Kept them silent.
Exactly. Fear is a powerful tool for an abuser. It can literally paralyze the victim, keep them from getting help. Sometimes they don't even think they deserve anything better.
Which brings us back to Ian. He was scared of Thomas too. Do you think that's why he helped hide him? Why he lied?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Ian's actions really raise a big question. What is the responsibility of someone who sees this happening? A bystander. We judge, but sometimes when you're in that situation, fear can take over.
It's a tough spot to be in. You speak up, maybe the abuser comes after you.
Yeah.
You stay quiet, you're part of the problem.
No easy answers, but one thing's clear. If you stay silent, you're helping the abuser.
So how do we change things? How do we get people to speak up, to help victims get out?
Awareness is key. We have to understand the signs of abuse, be able to spot them, and we have to create a safe space for victims. Let them know it's okay to come forward. That will listen. That will believe them.
We need to talk about this more. Get rid of the shame. Educate ourselves. Educate everyone.
I agree. No more blaming the victim. No more questioning their decisions. The abuser is the one responsible.
Thomas is paying for his crimes, but 18 years won't undo what he did. Can you really call that justice? Think about Sabrina's family, Monique. How do they heal from that?
It's a good question. The legal system can punish. It can try to stop it from happening again, but it can't fix the emotional damage, the trauma, all the pain.
This case, it's been a journey, And not an easy one. We've seen some dark things. But maybe by talking about it, by understanding it, we can start to find some light.
That's what we have to do. Shine a light on it. Talk about it. That's how we make things better.
If you or someone you know is going through this, please get help. There are people out there who care, who want to help. You don't have to go through this alone.
And everyone listening, remember this. You have a role to play in stopping domestic violence. Don't be afraid to speak up. Challenge the attitudes that allow this to happen. Support those working to make a difference.
We've seen what happens when people stay silent. It's devastating. But we've also seen the power of speaking out. Let's use our voices to build a world where everyone is safe, a world without fear, a world without violence.